So, welcome into another episode here of I haven't quite figured out what to call it yet. I know the old podcast was the Happening Hoops podcast. I've been thinking about names, maybe Happening Hoops chat or maybe just the podcast again. But welcome back to the second episode of whatever we're going to call it. I want to welcome onto the show a friend of the program, Todd Simon, head coach at Southern Utah University. Thanks for joining us today, Coach.
Thanks for having me. No, I certainly enjoy it. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, today we're recording this on July 1st. There's been a ton of news college basketball wise recently. Today, all the conference realignments actually officially happened. Yesterday, there was obviously the big bombshell news of UCLA and USC moving to the Big Ten. We'll touch on kind of conference expansion and conference relocation later, but I want to get into your program specifically. The recent news surrounding you guys is you have a lot of guys coming back. Harrison Butler, Tavion Jones, and hopefully I don't butcher this name, Mazion Fawcett. Is that?
Yeah, Mason Fawcett.
Mason Fawcett. And production wise, that's 34 points a game, nearly 15 rebounds, but also just in a general sense. I mean, you and I both know that experience is essential in college basketball of winning those close games. If you have upperclassmen and graduate students, they've been in those situations and, can potentially have insights that will help you in game situations. How excited are you to have those guys back around the program this year?
Yeah, there's no greater recruits than your own guys, and to have this experience. I mean, Mason's our all-time leading rebounder in D1 history, and Harrison's number two. These guys have been around for hundreds of games each, and all three of those guys are COVID seniors. They're all older. They're 1,000-point scorers, and I mean, so there's so much experience. They know our system. And it's almost a cheat code when we put them out there and practice together, and because they know all the reads and they've got so much experience. So it's just fun to kind of see them grow up as young men and become really adults at this point. They could run practice and install what we need to at this point and look pretty good. So that there's no price tag on having those guys in there, and they're able to lead. They're leaders. They establish our culture. They explain to the new guys how we do things and what's tolerated and what's not. And that's really sped up our process. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you kind of started to talk about it a little bit there, but in terms of, what you have in your program, what's to be expected, what's not to be expected. I know culture is kind of a buzzword that a lot of people use these days. And they talk about building it the right way. I want to, just take a minute and walk our viewers through this. You're entering year 7 there at Southern Utah. And the first year, you guys were 6 and 7, 11th place. Second year, 13 and 19, 10th place. 500 record the third year, 7th place. Got to the postseason and won a game. Fourth year, 17 and 15, 7th place. And then the fifth year, you broke through, won the regular season. That was, of course, the year that the NIT didn't take conference tournament champions because of COVID. And then last year, 2nd place again, made the Final Four of the new basketball classic and had 23 wins. I've seen that progression there. Obviously, we can see the results. I think the only puzzle piece it looks like that's missing is that NCAA tournament appearance. Going back to building things the right way, what has been the process that you've seen in the progression standings wise to allow you to kind of progress over this time?
Yeah, it's been a big brick by brick process. This wasn't something we thought we could flip overnight. We knew, in that stretch, I think there was a 3-year stretch there where we were win percentage wise 351 out of 351, and these last 2 years I think we're 27th or somewhere in that neighborhood in win percentage in the nation, and we knew it was going to take a little bit of time, but the process is something that we want to build a foundation that could last, and these things are all buzzwords, right? I love culture. No, these things are easy to say, but what does it really mean? And for us, it's in the people. We got to make sure all the people we've got alignment from top down, from student managers to strength coach to administrators. Everyone's kind of going in the same direction. They understand what our program's about. They know that we're a community program. Guys are going to do the right things on and off the floor, and be leaders in both areas. And and a lot of that stuff translates to the court, where we have a group of guys that once they get here, they understand that, hey, we play with accountability and we play with discipline, but there's a lot of freedom and confidence, and it's a program. We play fast, and there's a responsibility to play fast. It's not just, hey, yeah, we might shoot 20 shots a game in the first 3 seconds of the shot clock, but you know how hard that is. It sounds fun, but you have to be open in the first 3 seconds, and so you have to sprint, and you have to do. So part of that culture is just establishing that attitude and effort. Here's where our standard is, and it's not a standard that's only on 3 days a week or days when you feel like it. It's every single day, and then it becomes pretty fun. And we enjoy winning. We enjoy our being good teammates, and that makes the whole process worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I talked about at the beginning of the show, today we're recording this on July 1st. It's all the off-season moves. The big news for you guys is that you're switching conferences from the Big Sky, which you're obviously very familiar with, into the WAC. Back when I was living in the Midwest, not too far from Chicago, I regularly covered the WAC on their easternmost outpost there in Chicago. And when I was there, it was a pretty different league from what it is now. I'd say like kind of one good team and some kind of okay or not so good teams. But now the conference, in my opinion, goes 7 or 8 teams deep. Like, it is a legitimate mid-major conference. Would you say maybe more view it as exciting or as a challenge, or what's your kind of opinion on moving to this new conference here?
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. I mean, this is a top 15 league, and on paper you're talking about a lot of very good net ranked teams that are beating people. New Mexico State won games in the tournament. You're talking about some pretty entrenched programs. I think that once we put them all together, we'll continue to rise and elevate each other's programs. But I mean, it's an absolute bear of a league, and that's exciting. Digging into the rosters and the teams, and you kind of see a new challenge. Then that part's exciting for us too. And while there's certainly a challenge to playing new teams and kind of leveling up, maybe necessarily in terms of the metrics and teams on paper, but we also feel it'll be fun to have new opponents have to discover us, and we do things a little bit differently, and we're not an easy place to play. We won 20 plus games here at home in a row, and it's not an easy place to get to. It's not an easy place to play in elevation. You're talking 6,000 feet, and we're pressing and we're playing fast, and so it's going to be a new experience for a lot of the schools that are coming here for the first time too. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, and then just in a larger sense, like a lot is going on in college basketball. I guess we'll focus mainly on maybe the conference realignment and everybody changing schedules, or changing conferences, excuse me. I mean, do you have kind of any thoughts on how this is going to impact college basketball moving forward, as you saw, UCLA and USC are moving to the Big Ten now, and the Oklahoma Texas news that broke a few months ago caused a ripple effect of, I want to say, I think literally 60 teams changing conferences, and this I expect will do some more in the same. Do you think this is good or bad for college basketball? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, nobody just loves change, unless you're the one kind of getting the check, which is a lot of what this is about. But it's just it's new. I think that's the way I kind of look at it. Like, hey, it's going to be different, but you have to be open-minded. You have to be ready to evolve. I think as the sport changes, even within the rules changes and the structure of all of this roster building and all these things, I think you got to look at it from what are the opportunities. as opposed to just strictly dwelling on the change or the threats. So, it's fun and exciting for those that want to innovate, and it's fun and exciting for those that are willing to be kind of open-minded for what this new, it's really a new world of college sports, and so that from that standpoint, it's intriguing. I'm intrigued to see what this is all going to mean. But none of these changes, I go back to one thing, like nothing none of these changes, these realignments and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, the influx of money in different directions and for players and for team, it's not happening because the sport is unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening because the popularity of the sport across the board is increasing, which means that there's a more of an appetite for it. There's more dollars and all that stuff. So it's coming from a place of health necessarily than, oh boy, our sport's dying and we've got to figure out ways to survive. It's not that.
Yeah. And then, just one last question for you here. You are obviously still developing the schedule. I think it's, the ones that are out there so far. I want to say you're playing Idaho State. Kansas is the notable one, the defending national champions. I know you usually try to sneak a game in against the Michigan team, being from Michigan. Any hints you can give us on the schedule or the ones that are out there so far, particularly Kansas, how that kind of came about and what that will be like for your team going to Fall Gown?
Yeah, we're going to open in the pit in Mexico, and which will be a fun experience. I've obviously been there a bunch being at UNLV, and they got a great team coming back, so that'll be an experience. Having Kansas, on the is it's just such a historic place, and it's the ultimate measuring stick. Okay, here's the pinnacle of our sport right now. Let's see where we stand. And those things are all to help you get better for league play. And we have Colorado on the books before Christmas, and another well-respected, well-coached team. And obviously Idaho State we'll be on the road with, and home with NAU, to bring some of those Big Sky rivalries still in play. And neutral site against Cal State Fullerton, who's obviously a very good mid-major program, and as the undercard for a BYU Creighton game in Las Vegas.
Oh,
so it'll be quite a fun slate of games, and we've got a couple more up our sleeve. We've got an MTE that's being finalized that'll be good for us, and we'll add a couple more. And as we always like to challenge ourselves in this non-conference and help ourselves get ready.
Yeah, awesome. And I just want to, thank you once again, Coach, for coming on the program here. I just want to, if you'll have a minute, I want to tell everybody a little story that I don't think I've ever shared, but it's something that really speaks to your character. And, is, I think, you going above and beyond. And I always like to highlight leaders when they do that. I think it would have been 2020. I was writing my final paper for my urban geography class, and I was doing it on Las Vegas and just kind of the nature of the city. And I think I was interviewing someone for the paper as a source to kind of speak on the city, and they ended up having to cancel at the last minute for whatever reason. So I was like, oh no, I'm really up the creek without a paddle here with no source. And I remembered, oh, Coach Simon follows me on Twitter. I know he, used to be at Bishop Gorman and UNLV and lived in Las Vegas. Let me give him a call. And you were gracious enough to give, some of your time to someone who, really, I didn't go to your school. You had no reason to kind of help me out there, but I just wanted to, thank you for that and helping me with my final assignment of undergrad there.
No, that's awesome. No, I think life's pretty simple. I've enjoyed we got to meet in our first season way back in 2016, and our first road game was actually at Valpo.
Yep.
And so I've always enjoyed meeting people, and my life's pretty simple. I enjoy seeing people have success and to watch small fish become big fish. I said that's my passion, and watch people kind of grow and evolve, and you just never know. You just help. Hey, this thing's hard enough. We can help each other a little bit. It gets even harder. So let's, spread. You just do the right things, help people out, and it's amazing how good you feel about everything. So I appreciate those kind words very much.
Yeah. Well, that was Todd Simon, head coach of Southern Utah University. The Thunderbirds are moving to the WAC this upcoming year, and we'll look to make some noise there. Thanks for joining me today, Coach Simon. And this has been the Happening Hoops podcast.